This is a story of a father with a farm. Now he had but one child, very small, and a beautiful goody wife who took care of the household. Now it turns out this story takes place during reaping season when it's time to cut all the hay and bring it in from the fields. And the husband, the father of the house, he would spend most of his time out in the fields reaping the hay with his scythe. Well, this one day he came home and he was particularly in a bad mood. He was always known to have a bad mood, but this day he was quite ill-tempered. He came home and he was quite upset. Why, wife? The cow is still out in the field. Supper is not ready. The child is screaming like a banshee. What is wrong with you? Why can't you keep a proper house? This is just terrible, terrible. Well, the wife thought to herself, well, husband, if you find my work to be so easy and your work to be so difficult, tomorrow I shall go out into the fields and I shall cut the hay. You can stay home and mind the house. Well, that's a fantastic idea. If I'm minding the house, I should be able to finish all the chores before noon and take the rest of the afternoon just to relax, a little me time. Well, the next day, the wife, she did get up and take that sickle and head out into the field to work with the men cutting the hay. Well, the father, he got up. First thing he thought, well, we should need churn some butter for lunch when we're going to have a lovely oat gruel lunch. We need butter for that. So he took out the butter churn and poured in a liter of cream, and he began churning and churning and churning and churning. And then he remembered, oh, I'm very thirsty. I'm going to go down into the cellar and get myself a pint of cider. So he went down to the cellar, he pulled the cup out, and he grabbed the tap of the barrel, and he was pouring himself a cup of cider when he heard a crash and a bam upstairs. He thought, oh, what in the goodness gracious is this? And he ran upstairs so quickly he forgot to remove the tap from his hand. And there in the kitchen, he found the pig had come into the house and had knocked over the butter churn. There was cream all over the floor. The pig was wallowing around. The kid was splashing in the cream. This made him very upset. He grabbed the child and put the child back into the cradle. He kicked that pig, tried to grab it, but it was covered in butter. Couldn't grab the pig. Squeal, squeal, squeal. He kicked the pig out the door, knocked it in the head so hard it was wobbling around in the yard like it was drunk. Well, he'd realized that he now left the cellar full of cider, but he still had chores to do. He still had things. Oh, you know what? The cow. I forgot all about that. I was churning the butter and I forgot about the cow. The cow needs feeding. The cow needs water. The cow needs a drink. So the father went outside to the cow and he grabbed the cow and he brought it up to the house. Now, this house was an old-fashioned house, all thatched roof. In the winter, it's all covered in the snow, but in the spring, like now, it's all covered with green grass. And he thought this was very efficient. Just have the cow eat the grass upon the top of the house. Don't have to take it all the way out to the pasture. So he did that. He led the cow up to the top of the house where it started munching on the grass. He went back downstairs to start churning the butter. Oh, you know what? We're running out of time to churn the butter. We're going to need to grind the oats. If we're going to have oatmeal for supper, I need to grind the oats. So he began grinding the oats. He got a pile of oats and the grindstone, and he's churning, and he's churning, and he's churning, and he's. But wait, that cow. It's kind of dangerous to leave a cow just standing on the roof. It's a low roof, but still, he thought to himself. So he went outside and he climbed up onto the roof. He tied a rope around the cow, dropped the other end of the rope down the chimney into the house. When he got back to the kitchen, he grabbed that rope from the chimney and tied it around himself. And he went back to grinding. Well, pretty much I've got enough grinding. We need to boil it. We've got to boil the oats, otherwise it's no good at all. So he had grabbed himself a big barrel of water, a pot, and he put it into the fire and was starting to light the fire and get the pot ready to go when, wouldn't you know it, up on top of the roof, cow was meandering around and right off the edge. Now the cow was tied to a rope. The rope went through the chimney, was tied to the man. So all of a sudden when the cow went woo, he went wah! And he was hanging there from the chimney with one end of the rope, and on the outside, the cow, dangling its legs, hanging from the rope outside the house. Meanwhile, The goody wife, she was thinking to herself in the fields, it's far past time for my husband to call for supper. He should have called quite some time ago. I'm going to head back home and see what's up. So the wife, she came back in from the fields and she saw the house. And there was a cow hanging off the side of the house. She thought, how in the world could that possibly happen? She used a scythe and cut the rope. The cow dropped to the ground and she heard in the house, ah, help! She went into the house and there she found her husband. There was cream all over the floor. The child was screaming in the bin. The cow was stumbling around. The pig was stumbling around, and there was the husband with his head buried headfirst into the cooking pot, with his legs flying around outside the fireplace. Well, she pulled him out. She put the pig back in the pen and dusted him off, and he was so embarrassed. Oh, my love, my dear, I was so certain I would finish all those chores first thing in the morning, and I had no idea how difficult your job has been all this time. I'm so sorry. And he gave her a beautiful kiss on the cheek, and he, from that day on, did not grouse, did not complain, did not whine. He was very grateful to come home to find the beautiful house that his wife was minding. And that is the man who minded the house.